So I realized that I haven't given you enough walkthrough examples for your homework for the last question. So I'm going to leave this here. Hopefully it's helpful. And apologies if I'm annoying. Okay, so we are in week 4. If you go to that week 4 class, I put in both that survey that I wanted you guys to take and then this website, right? So go to the website. I have it linked wrong currently at this moment, but after I'm done and uploaded this video, I'm gonna fix it. Essentially, where it should take you is home, where you can have the link to download R for your computer. You could also like maybe use some basic R powerful tools and visualizations. This is kind of like a little helpful location, right? Yeah. Well, actually, that just takes you to the same spot where you can download it. So you can choose which version you're in and you can download it onto your computer. What's this? What links did I put on here? I put multiple links. So you know what? I'm just basically really advocating for you to get this open source material for yourself and, to increase your skill set. Okay, so basics. We've been working in Excel where most of the times we're typing either equations in the little tiny cell area or this formula thing. And now we're going to kind of really like show the general basic difference between working in Excel and R, which is you work here in the console. You never really work in these squares. You never really like are typing anything. You can't change anything in these these things unless you manually do it in the console. So you're just, instead of being able to have some flexibility from writing those formulas in here that are also reflected in the cells, you are essentially just writing in this abstract console from the page itself, which, it has its benefits and also has, some kind of learning curve that's going to slow down your process of data analytics. A lot of the operations are exactly the same. You got here with the equals in the console. You can just write it without even putting the equals at this point. Yeah, here, I'm going to open up. We can just take this 1 plus 1 and let me open up R. Okay. We can clear this up. Clear. Yes. Clear. Yes. Okay. If you put 1 plus 1 in the console, got 2. Perfect. Great. It's very intuitive, just like Excel is. We have these logical operations. So instead of equals and, you can do these, you use the ampersand. Is that how you say that? I probably said that wrong, but you use the and sign. Or, and not is typically represented as this, actual exclamation point, which you can see, I think, in a little bit more detail down here. Okay. We got the same type of operations as sum, mean. Oh, this one actually uses mean. This is probably why I get confused and type in mean all the time in Excel, is that they use the word average and R uses the word mean. That makes so much sense why I constantly do that, since I, go between both of these. These, what you would do for textual stuff like we talked about, like adding in words from a column together into one. And the last bit is, this is wrong. Okay, that's wrong, and I'm going to fix this before I upload this video. But let's go over here. So this website that you guys are on, if you are on it, is actually, I created it in R. So I did all of the work, and this is the one I want. I did all the work and wrote it up in this thing called Quarto, which we won't get into, but it's pretty cool. It's very useful and easy. You can tell, for how nice the website looks, this is just the basic code in the background. I could throw in pictures. I can, type this all up. I can make these types of, really easy types of graphics. But we're going to get down to this last bit that was a little bit different. So in Excel, when we're grabbing stuff, and this is important for your homework, if we wanted to grab, let's say, a specific cell, you might just call it A1, right? Because it's already lined up for everyone. In R, it's different because you can have so many data frames. Like this area right here that's empty right now can get extremely messy. You can add so much data, which act like sheets that what Excel has, but are data frames here that you can't necessarily touch in Excel and change. So we need to pull in something to get this example. So we're going to come back here after we do this data visualization. So keep this in your mind. We're going to walk through this part. Again, this, if you go to, let's go back to here, go to data visualization. This is that page. This kind of walks you through being able to install these new programs into your newly downloaded R system and start playing around with them. And for the code that I have written up for this example, you will need ggplot, which is a data visualization plotting system, duplar, which is a really cool like manipulation part. Tidyr is like, I guess I don't really know necessarily the difference between duplar and tidy, but I think it has something to do in the background with like manipulation. And then this read Excel. And to do that, I have this in the code with this hashtag because I don't want it to run in my computer. But when you run it, you'd copy all the way up to the hashtag, open up your Excel, paste that in here. I'm going to say no. I don't want it to do that, but it's going to upload that package in the background. And why it asked me that is most likely because I already had that package included. So it was rewriting over the old package. And then you need to load in the library. So this is where things become a little bit more manual, and you're doing a lot more manual kind of work to do the same thing that you already have kind of easy and fast-tracked in Excel. Okay. One of the big things is getting your R to upload a data frame. And so I've put those, all those Excel files on our D2L site. And now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to upload one of those data frames. And to do that, you can't do it like where you go to data and you you hit that, like, let's get data and bring it in. You have to kind of manually tell R where it is and then have it loaded in and what type of file it is. So I have it kind of written pretty generically right down here. Restaurants equals read underscore Excel. And then I have this really generic path that you may have downloaded all the materials or you may have not. It might just be a file in your downloads. But essentially what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take away all of that and you want to get the path for this restaurant file that we dealt with like a couple weeks ago and get that exact path to load up here. So to do that for this case, I'm going to look for it. There. Now you can see that. It's called restaurant. Oh gosh, I hate the word restaurant. How do you spell restaurant? Oh, this is always so embarrassing. Okay, I'm just gonna grab it. Why is restaurant the way it is? Okay, there it is. Let's go back to R. Let's go and bring this up forward. Okay, restaurant.xls. Okay, there it is. That's my file. That's where I found it. Yours is probably in your downloads. Now, in Mac, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to side click and you're going to want to hold down the option button to get that copy restaurant as a path. Of course, I just let it go before I copied it. Okay, copy that as a path and you can import it. Now, for window users, I think it's Control. We can look it up actually here. What's copy path Windows? No, it just says it's already there. Well, that's nice. Oh, okay, it's up on the top thing where you can like actually grab it on the copy as path, which is that's pretty nice. Okay, back to it. Okay, let's get here. We're gonna load in now that we've gotten our path in the quotation marks. That's just telling us like this is all one string and this is exactly the path that we want to grab this file from. you can hit enter and it pulls it up. And there we have it. We have that same old kind of boring data set we had where we had restaurants, we had quality ratings, we had meal price and wait time and so forth. So let's get over here. That's in this guy, and in the web page, that means we're right here. We've read in our data frame, and now essentially when you're here, you can you can grab this code and you should be able to run it all. As long as you've installed all the packages, you are not going to get a warning sign. So you can grab this guy and import it, and all of a sudden you get a pie graph, just like we got beforehand. And that's a lot more wording than what we did when we just clicked around and got to the pie and inserted the pie graph, right? So this is where there's a trade-off. You can customize a lot of your stuff really easy. You can use like artificial intelligence to help you like get to these coding problems a lot easier and faster. But also just throwing it in Excel was pretty quick. Instead of having to figure out how to write this entire thing up, where you can see we did the ggplot, we actually recreated a new data set. You could actually probably combine these two things. You wouldn't need these two guys. This is just a step-by-step explanatory kind of process where you're taking those restaurants and counting them by the quality and summarizing those groups by the rating quality to be able to create this graph. Whereas we were able to automatically do that in the pivot table and use this ggplot to plot it out. So the same thing with, now that you have it in that format, you can also plot it out by the big difference here is the word, if you see this, bar. And essentially the other one right here wasn't it this one? It's this call that was creating that pie graph. Okay, last one, and then we can call it quits. We got the pivot table. Pivot table is kind of a long one in comparison to what we were able to do really quickly in R. Right here, what we're going to do is we're going to create a data set that counts all of the meal prices in 10, or groups them all in 10 bins and include the lowest, yes, of course, and then go all the way. And then they create this little binning process where it says 10 is 20, and then 20 is 30, and then so forth. So here, I'll show you in this. So here we are in the restaurants, and now we're going to do this restaurant bin, which is basically the same data frame. You can see that this is 4 variables, this one is 5 variables. And essentially what we've done is created this new column where it is the bin column of 30, 40, 50, and so forth. And our step 2 to create that same pivot table is now to then manipulate that into where that is the column length and the rows are the quality. So now here's the pivot table. And that long 300 observations is now 3 rows. Excellent, good, very good. And then they had the bin quality, and then they summed it all up in the middle. So you can see like a little bit like of how this is quite a bit, like a little bit more time consuming to write that up and to know that structure in your head of how you're manipulating the data into these rows, columns, and sum up values. You kind of have to be thinking about that quite a bit to be able to do the same thing that we were easily able to do in the pivot table. Okay. And this is what's important for your homework. And it goes back to the last question here. Now that we have data, we can kind of actually, I can talk about this. So let's go to the website, which is index. Here we go. Okay. So one of the big differences, let's say you wanted the column A1 in Excel, you just write A1. But in R, what you want to do is you first have to reference which sheet, basically, kind of idea, right? Or they call it data frames. So you have DF. Oh, let's not call it, well, I have DF as the example, but if let's say we're going to grab pivot tables or restaurant, no, let's go restaurants. And we want to grab the first column, A, which is restaurants. Dollar signs will bring up all of the column names. And let's say grab restaurants. And then we want the first cell. You need to do this not parentheses. What are they called? What, blocks? I actually don't know what those ones are called. Those brackets. Okay. 1. Brackets 1 is going to bring back the number 1, because if we look at restaurants right there, that's what's in bracket 1. Oh, let's go down here. Click 1. Okay. If we wanted, let's say, quality rating, and the first column of quality rating, you just change the restaurants to quality rating, which is good. Cool. If we wanted meal price, I'm so sorry. If we wanted meal price, we could go to meal price, and that would return 18. And so forth. So grabbing these things is slightly a little different, right? So you like A1 is grabbing both the data frame, that's the name that's listed here, and the $, A, the column that you want, whatever that name is, and then these brackets to tell you which cell you're looking for. So you could have changed that to however, you could have changed it to 300 because we have 300 observations. And that's another nice thing about Excel. You've probably seen me in class where I'm like having to scroll down to figure out how many observations. Here you can observe those kind of important information. Observations, and the number of variables is the number of columns. So you kind of have that like always available in your mind to think about. Okay, so if you just wanted to grab AA, it'd be DF $A. And I know this is not the same on the website right now. I'm going to fix it. And absolute referencing, let's see what that is. I'm curious because I don't think that's, yeah. Absolute referencing, that shouldn't be 1. That should be just like, actually, I'm going to call it A. I think that is fair in R. And, yeah, to do that and to grab that 1 column, you could easily also just do 1, which is the same as this guy here. Okay. I'm going to save that and fix that later. But to go back to your homeworks, this is going to come up. This is the thing that's going to come up, which is this median, mean. And if you now have made it this far, essentially, restaurants at meal is going to tell you the median of that column, which is essentially what that question is asking, but for a different data frame, right? So the main change here is changing this to refer to the thing that you're trying to grab. And these would be right here in this calculation in R, how to do that. This idea of referencing the columns and grabbing those same type of variables in an efficient way as you would grab them in Excel. Okay, hopefully this was helpful. Less than 20 minutes.